Let's turn our attention now to climate change and economic sustainability. In the face of growing pressure to be transparent, an increasing number of organizations are beginning to report on sustainability or corporate social responsibility. Now, sustainability reports help internal and external stakeholders understand how well the organization follows the triple bottom line, which is the environmental, social and economic performance of that particular company. Most businesses around the world have developed models that go beyond just ensuring that the business lasts after the founders have gone. But how beneficial is climate change or economic sustainability to the economy and the country as a whole? Joseph Owolabi, Director of Financial Accounting Advisory Services at Ernst & Young, joins me now to talk about this. So good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's great to have you on the program. So talk to us a little bit, give us an insight into what economic sustainability is and how beneficial is it to the economy?
Sustainability from the word focuses on how businesses can extend beyond the immediate present to the future. There are significant issues that come to bear. Issues like environmental impact, social, as well as governance impact that organizations have on their community, as well as the relationships they have with the people that work with them, as well as their value chain.
So do you think there's a high level of awareness of this in Nigeria?
Of course, it's come to fruition. Over the last 40 years, we've discovered that investors, stakeholders, governments have placed more importance on sustainability information. In the 1960s, you usually have valuation of entities based on the tangible assets that you have in their financial statements. But in the recent years, in the 2000s, early 2000s, up to this decade, you discover that a lot of the valuation of companies come from their intangibles, of which sustainability reporting plays a key role. So investors, communities, activists, social, as well as employees are interested in what their company is doing to protect the community, the environment, and the future of unborn generations.
So do you say that maybe their need to impact positively on their immediate community, not necessarily the bigger picture, which is like the economy as a whole, is responsible for this level of consciousness? Mr. Owolabi, if you can hear me, what I asked you was, so do you think that this is what is responsible for the level of consciousness that we see with regards how they're impacting their immediate community and maybe the larger community as a whole, which is Nigeria? We'll continue the conversation with Joseph Owolabi, who is the head sustainability reporting at Ernst & Young. He's also the Director of Financial Accounting Advisory Services at Ernst & Young. Thank you so much, Mr. Owolabi, for staying with us. So based on your response on my last question, which is how high the level of awareness is of climate change and economic sustainability, what do you think could be responsible for this level of consciousness? And I remember asking, is it just because of trying to cater for their immediate community or for the bigger community, which is Nigeria?
So it's not only in Nigeria. Across the world, there's a lot of importance being placed on information about how organizations impact on the environment, how they treat their people, what level of input and community engagement they undertake. In November last year, between November and December, we had 197 heads of states, prime ministers, as well as other financial ministers across the world gather in Paris to set goals ahead of 2020 in terms of how to cut the climate change impacts of the world. Because the way we're going right now, the global temperature increases by over 4 degrees Celsius every year. That is alarming because you can see that in the polar regions, the ice is melting, a number of species of organisms and animals and plants are becoming extinct. The temperature in Lagos and Abuja in recent times have become about 35 degrees Celsius. You can't even tell when it's dry season or rainy season again in Nigeria. So global warming is real. It's not only for NGOs, global leaders, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, as well as other business leaders are putting their funds together to support initiatives that will curb the global greenhouse emissions across the world. So it's not just in Nigeria, but everywhere, all over the world.
So, Mr. Wolabi, let's bring it home. You mentioned that in the last couple of days we've seen very high temperatures in some of the in the nation's capital, Abuja, and the nation's commercial nerve center, Lagos. This is where we have the highest population, or one of the highest population of businesses and offices. So, tie it in for us. Climate change and economic sustainability. A lot of people are wondering, what's the relationship?
Okay, when it comes to climate change, we're saying the way the planet is, there's been a lot of shifts in the temperatures, in the climate, in the weather systems. And all of this is caused mostly by the impact people, animals are having on the planet. So because we've had globalization, a lot of people have left the rural parts of the world. In Nigeria, people have left the west, the east, and the north, and they're concentrated in capitals such as Lagos, VI, Ikeja, in Abuja, Port Harcourt. You have populations close to 20 million in some of these places.
Huh. So
their impact is enormous. You have fuel, you have smoke emissions, carbon dioxide, nitric oxide, and also harmful gases being released from generators, from impact of oil companies, manufacturing companies releasing emissions, as well as effluents, damaging the rivers. So these impacts are very huge. If we don't address them, there will be no planet to do business and become profitable for any one of us.
So just quickly now, because we're fast spent for time, how does the adoption of economic sustainability principles affect corporate profitability? And then how do you, what kind of policy framework would you suggest to make businesses more compliant? So if you can, 2 questions in one.
Okay, recently Ernst & Young, EY, has been doing a survey where in the 2nd year, we commissioned an independent party, institutional investors research, to ask investors, over 200 of them, what they consider in making decisions in allocating funds in capital markets. The recent report showed that there's a great increase in demand for corporate social responsibility information, sustainability information, or integrated reporting information. Why do investors find this very, very important? Last year alone, we had over $10 trillion move from what we call stranded assets. Earlier on the program, we were talking about the energy sector and the issues there. So funds are being diverted from the energy sector because they have a large composition of what we call stranded assets. And stranded assets are assets that lose their value prematurely due to exogenous factors. That is, factors beyond them, external factors. So when you look at oil and gas companies, mining companies, they have a lot of impact on the environment. In Nigeria, we look at Niger Delta. There's so much affluent being released into the river. The ozone layer is being depleted. The oxygen is deficient in these areas. So all of these issues are what investors also consider, because 2 main issues have affected oil and gas sectors globally. One is the environmental risk, which I just explained, the fact that they damage the environment. Secondly is technology. The increase in technological advancements, such as fracking and shale gases, has made the oil companies in places like US to be able to tap into reserves, making a lot of assets in Nigeria, Africa, and other parts of the world not relevant. Also, the attention and awareness being raised on other renewable sources of energy, clean energy. A lot of people are talking about cars that run on other things outside of crude. Okay, so you have cars that run on electricity, you have cars that are hybrid cars and all of that. So appetites of individuals are also raised to this, and people are investing and putting their time in other things outside of this dangerous investment.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Wolabi. We'll have to leave it there for today. But of course, we'll have you back in the studio at a much later time for us to talk more about climate change and economic sustainability. But Business Morning continues in just a moment. We'll be talking about the markets after now. Stay with us.